freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to my weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting Icewind Dale, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Rime of the Frostmaiden. You are playing characters of Robin, Frey, Celeste, Edmund, or Thimbleweed. Turn back now. You've stumbled into the wrong stream. This will be full of spoilers, but for the rest of you, welcome aboard. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday evening. You can watch all of our D&D live series as well as reviews and Let's Plays on my YouTube channel and read weekly session recaps at roguewatson.com. Follow me on Twitter at roguewatson and join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/roguewatson. For our campaign, we use roll20.net. For streaming, I use open broadcaster software with Streamlabs. We are staring at the keep of Caer Dineval because we have to discuss the Black Sword's quest, which I am nervous as hell about because this is not a traditional dungeon by any means. Greetings, Stan, Garchomp, and Nathan. Jerry, good to see you all in the chat. So we finished up the Dwerger Outpost quest line and basically completed Caer Konig, which was fun. Kind of took longer than I thought. I think at 4 total sessions between Caer Konig and the Dwerger Outpost. The party is going to reach level 4 at the beginning of our next session, so we're still solidly in tier 1, still in chapter 1, but you know, getting some more stuff under our belt. And continuing with more chapter 1 quests, which this one is such an interesting one, and also one that makes me so anxious to run. More than anything, this one reminds me of the Fort Belwarian quest in Tomb of Annihilation, which, for those of you that have not seen our Tomb of Annihilation stream, I'm going to spoil it slightly by basically explaining that it's similar. It's a fortress full of people, but it is not meant to be a, like, we're assaulting this fortress, attacking people. It's like we need to just get inside, talk to some people, and then get out. Which my party hilariously failed at because they were belligerent and just assholes at the gate, and thus had to do a whole bunch of shenanigans in order to make their way inside. It was a whole lot of, DM ad-libbing and making shit up along the way because I wasn't prepared for them to do such a bad job of getting inside. And ended up being one of our most memorable and enjoyable moments in the entire campaign, according to my players. From my point of view, it wasn't very exciting of a situation, just something different to go do. But from their point of view, it ended up being a lot of fun. And this has the potential to go in multiple directions depending on how the players handle it. Now, I'm also modifying what's going on here in my campaign. I've mentioned this before, but it's been weeks, if not months now at this point. I think back at the pre-campaign streams where I talked about the fact that I'm dropping all of the demon connections. There's no Asmodeus influencing the Dwerger. There's no Levistus running this cult. It's too much, and it takes away from, I think, the Ithrin and Auril stuff. But I have read some cool stuff about how DMs are, like, going hard on that. Like, maybe it's Levistus is actually trapped in Ithrin and all this kind of cool things, and it's actually a demon war going on. That's a cool idea, too. So I think your options are you either go hard on that or you eliminate it completely, and I will be eliminating that completely. So instead, without the Levistus thing, this becomes... what I'm trying to do is a non-obviously evil cult. Instead, I'm almost treating them like X-Men in a way, where this is a group of people that have come together who have all found pieces of Chardalyn, and essentially the leader, Kadroth, is a bit of a Professor X who, like, goes to people and finds anybody who is maybe suffering from maladies that would, like the symptoms of being near Chardalyn, which is forms of madness, essentially, or just, extreme bouts of aggression or moodiness or whatever else, to where they're being affected by it. And he can kind of teach people as well as helping, turn their Chardalyn into different items and things, basically mold it into different... in this case, it's the amulets. They all wear these amulets. I don't know if I'm going to have them all wear amulets or if they're all just going to have different kinds of items. I may introduce a system where people can turn Chardalyn into different things, which I think Edmund would appreciate, because his whole thing is about Chardalyn. And essentially make it so Chardalyn is basically kryptonite to Auril. So, because literally the way the Superman thing works, like Auril is in my campaign originally from Aetherin. She was a one of the high wizards who had an apotheosis, ascended to godhood, and was ultimately her fault that the entire city crashed and buried the entire thing. And she thinks that's all done and gone. But then recently, these Arcane Brotherhood wizards, specifically Neslantamir, has revealed the fact that the city is still underground and maybe has been reactivated. So she's freaking out about that, and she knows that, and the Chardalyn, meanwhile, is being excavated and is kind of just, for whatever reason, has generally made its way to the surface. It used to be more rare, but I think maybe it's just coming more frequently now. And its properties are very something I'm having to figure out, which is what kind of mechanical properties they have. Obviously, it has, it affects players mentally and emotionally. But I wanted to add actual, in-game mechanical stuff, because I think that helps players, remember and offers the Chardalyn to have some kind of benefits. You could absolutely use it, basically turning all these Chardalyn items into cursed items. They do have benefits, but they also have negative traits and drawbacks. So there'll be a chance for them to maybe turn some of the raw Chardalyn they found in the Dweller Outpost into something. And essentially, this is a group of people that isn't necessarily evil at all. And yes, I have a baby because you ate all those Cheerios already? Oh my god. Oh crap. She's not napping and is continuing to vex me. Essentially, these are people who, that's their commonality, is they all possess Chardalyn. They view it as a power source. And I need to fill in all the details of that. Did Kadroth start this cult and start forming people together? Obviously, and they're not like their hands are clean either. They definitely moved into this castle. The Speaker kind of invited them. Maybe the Speaker saw the potential of Chardalyn and thought it'd be really cool to have, these people here, and being able to research this very special, magical, ancient material. But then the Speaker's kind of just a asshole politician and was maybe trying to control them too much. He's definitely doesn't have his hands clean either. And ultimately, the leadership of this group, I'm trying not to call them a cult, but kind of took over, basically. They killed the Speaker's guards and have essentially put him under house arrest. So that's the way that their hands are not clean here. But the interesting thing is, the players, it's up to them to decide if they want to ultimately ally with this group or not. And the advantage is, like I said, they're the ones that are really trying to help people with that possess Chardalyn. And ultimately, I'm probably going to have Chardalyn do extra damage to any of Auril's minions or her and Auril herself. And maybe do a cool thing where they bring in like a cold light walker or something. I think is it that and Winter Wolves, I think, are her minions. I need to look up what Auril's minions are. Maybe they've got something captured that would belong to Auril, and they can show you, and maybe it's Avarice that discovered this and be like, look, Chardalyn works extra good against Auril's minions, so maybe this is the way we can ultimately destroy her and free this, because everybody's kind of now the reigning theory is that she's definitely the cause of all this, which is correct. But what they're wrong about is, or what nobody knows about, is why she caused this problem, which is because of Aetherin's discovery. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. And a lot of this depends on how the players deal with this. If you notice, I did whisper to Valravn towards the end of the previous session, and I did message him privately to make sure he got this message, where he has the player secret of being the spy, and he's been spying on and basically reporting on everything the party has done to Avarice. Avarice is his handler, and basically Avarice taught him magic in exchange for him being a spy for her. So that's going to be an easy way for them to actually let them in, and a fun way for to really expand on Valravn's backstory. And we can use Edmund's backstory, because he is hunted by the Arcane Brotherhood. So when they arrive, she will basically let them in, maybe I'll reveal that Balrun's thing for the players to have to deal with, which I think would be a lot of fun. So it's possible that they will have to fight in here. I'm generally gonna, and sorry, my video camera froze for a second there. I'm generally going to keep this map the way it is, which is unfortunate because it's a subdivided 10-foot square map, but there's just too much dynamic lighting. It's just gonna be a pain in the ass to try and blow this thing up, to be honest, compared to the Dwarger Outpost, where I could kind of cut it off and just use pieces of it. I don't see this turning into a room-to-room combat encounter. I would like... oh, did my whole voice cut out? Sorry. I think my whole thing just froze for like a solid 30 seconds. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you got the gist of what I was trying to say. I don't remember at what point I got cut off. I think my wife's upstairs doing a video conference. That might be part of it. But I think we're going to keep this map. Okay, 10 seconds. That's not bad. Generally like it is. And modify it by probably changing out some of these cultists to make them higher level in case the players do want to throw down, because I don't see cultists being very fun to fight necessarily, and we're level 4, although they're not. It's not meant to be this huge, you know, powerful fortification. I don't like this art. This is the very generic, all the way back from the Dragon campaign art, so I may have to come up. I think Cult Fanatic at least has better art in terms of just a generic looking cultist. Let's see if I've got that in here. Oh, there's actually one called the Knight of the Black Sword, which I think that is a cult, which that's actually a big upgrade from cultist to cult fanatic. You go from like what, CR 1.8 to, yeah, CR 1.8 to CR 2, so an average of 9 hit points, an average of 30 hit points. So I actually have to be careful about upgrading everybody to that exact stat block. That turns a lot of these guys into minions. So the Icy Doom thing I'm probably not going to use, because these guys are not going to be associated with Levistus or you know, Oral. In fact, they're going to be another faction that's basically going to be a group of people who Avarice will maybe trying to nudge them into being militarily opposed to Oral, and maybe she's like trying, you know, originally they were just a group coming together for Chardalyn and for gaining that power and researching Chardalyn, and then when she comes in and infiltrates this group, because she's a, you know, fairly high level wizard, she's the one that maybe discovers that Chardalyn is good against Oral, and maybe they can fight back against it, and maybe this is their best chance. So maybe the players will be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a great chance. But at the same time, they'll be getting to Caer Dineval and hearing from the innkeeper who's like, hey, you know, these people have been coming and going, and there's some people missing in town. It's kind of a weird thing. So in other words, the initial plot hook will be like, okay, this cult or this group of people have moved into town. You know, they already know about Korra's son, Warwar, who was taken by this cult, and essentially they'll be thinking this is going to be like a cult dungeon crawl that we have to infiltrate. And the twist is that that's not really the case. They'll be allowed inside. They can talk to Avarice and basically have a bunch of role-playing scenes. And it's really going to be up to the players entirely on whether they want to try to sneak around and dig deeper and try to find out the fact that the speaker's under house arrest, or maybe there's like some Chardalyn berserkers like in the basement area that have been chained up, and it's this group trying to figure out like if there's any way we can cure these guys or not. So there's definitely going to be shades of gray here that if the players want to, they can completely route and try to defeat all of these guys. I would totally allow that. Avarice would absolutely escape. She would not fight them. And hopefully I would be able to just still use her with a bunch of, you know, vengeful Knights of the Black Sword later. Or the players could just totally be on board, say, yeah, this is fine, and basically leave, and that's really all we have. And this is not really a proper quest that we've got either. If you look at their landing page, which I just copied that one because I didn't by doing there. Delete that. This is a rumor and lead. This is not an actual quest. Now in the book, this is a quest called Black Swords, which is what I'm calling the sessions. But if I give the players a quest, I run into the awkward thing where they're going to try to complete it. Like, is the quest to rescue Warwar, the innkeeper's son? well, he doesn't want to be rescued. He's got his place here. He feels more confident. His mood is leveled out now. He appears fine. Like, he does not want to be rescued at all. It would be, you know, that twist where you were sent in to rescue somebody, but they don't want to be rescued at all. So it's a weird thing where it's like, I don't want to feel like they're going to fail any quests by doing things differently. So I'm anxious about even adding this as an official quest, because then it's like it has a failed state. Versus maybe the quest is just meet you meet with them and then the quest is complete. I could do that. And just have it. Maybe I'll do something like that, just to give them a quest and have it in our quest log. I need to catch up on the chat for a second. Let's see. If the Shardland is coming from Wizard or Arcane Society mechanically, are you wanting to bolster their physical or mental abilities? So the Shardland is, I mean, it's still a raw material being found in Icewind Dale, but it is being molded and created and used into magical items. So here's the example I've got, which might be way too powerful, especially if I literally give all of these cultists this item. A Shardland amulet requires attunement, holds a piece of Shardland inside, and once attuned, has a chance of absorbing spells. When any spell of 1st to 3rd level is cast within 30 feet of the wearer, and the amulet is empty, roll a 1d4. On a 1, the spell's effect is nullified, and the spell's magic is absorbed within the amulet. Then make a DC 10 Charisma save, or suffer an effect on the short-term madness table. The amulet can hold only one spell at a time. If the amulet holds a spell, the wearer can spend an action to cast the stored spell using the original slot level, spell save, attack bonus, and ability of the original caster, but originating from the wearer. The stored spell is then expanded, and the amulet becomes empty. So a lot of things have to happen to make you do that. First of all, it's a spell of 1st to 3rd level cast within 30 feet of the wearer, and you don't get to choose what spell it is. It's literally any time a spell is cast. Which means it could be like an ally trying to cast a spell near you, and it could absorb that spell. And even then, it has a 25% chance of working. You know, on a 2, 3, or 4, nothing happens. And then when you make when it happens, you still have to make a charisma saving throw or suffer an effect on the short-term madness table. So it's a lot of things. I've tried to balance it out. The only key problem is obviously players could choose to exploit that system by doing it outside of combat and just casting a bunch of spells right before a long rest, for example. They've got like, 2 or 3 spells left, trying to trigger the effect, knowing that a short-term madness isn't going to really matter outside of combat. So that's the only thing they could do. My players are generally good about not exploiting stuff like that, but that is something I've thought about. The only weird thing is if I literally give like every single one of the cultists in here this Shardland amulet, that's a chance for the players to just grab a whole bunch of these things, and I don't know if that would really imbalance stuff. So it may be a case where only like a couple of cultists have this amulet, and maybe other people have different kinds of things. Maybe they've got, I don't know, a weapon or a different kind of piece of jewelry. The only bummer is I have to then come up with freaking magic items for all of these possible items, which could be daunting, but I can use the point is all of these Shardland stuff is powerful, but also has drawbacks that involve the madness table, and that's to kind of clarify the fact that, like, yes, you can use this stuff and it can be effective magic items, but it comes at a potential danger and risk. The powers and bad effects of the Shardland. Have you looked at the Red Steel campaign setting from 2nd edition? Had a system of powers that would mutate characters based on the power. Obviously, I have not. I'd be interested to know maybe slightly more about that. I don't know if I want to necessarily mutate character, like physically. Yes, get away from him. But certainly having a psychological toll would be appropriate. Make them knights, and you might prevent a fight. Reminds me of the tower. Yeah, I actually looked at a bunch of humanoid stat blocks to see what would be an effective. Not necessarily. I don't want to make it a total deterrent, but I feel like it's more interesting if I vary it up, and the fact that people would be using Shardland in different ways. So, yeah, so maybe some people built like armor. I mean, that would be a lot of Shardland. Maybe they had like pieces of Shardland on their armor. Oops, I went to the wrong map. I need to archive this map, actually. Don't need you, Dwarger Outpost. So I could use maybe pieces of armor that they could get, which would be interesting if they're in this keep. And again, Edmund has this raw Chardolin, and they're like, hey, can we turn this into something? And they're like, yeah, give us some time, and we can maybe turn this into, some kind of magical item effects for you if you want, different things. And I'll have to spend some time on how to balance that out. But that might be a cool opportunity for the players to kind of pick and choose and be like, hey, we can, almost like a video game where like there's a crafting screen. It's like, okay, you've got this much material. You can choose between these different things, with the caveat that they're all going to be have some kind of cursed effect in some way. And pretty much the thing I'm using is a charisma save to represent willpower, or suffering from the madness table. And they all have that dark crystal effect, which is after every long rest, you also have to make a charisma save or suffer long-term madness. I don't know if you use long-term or indefinite madness, because indefinite can be fun to roleplay as well, but I think I've already established long-term madness. And Avarice recruits some of the cult members of the Arcane Brotherhood, but all converts are dispensable since she only trusts the gargoyles. So, yeah, I've heard a lot of things about how people are, like, having the Dwerger ally with Avarice, or having these cultists ally with Avarice, or, sorry, with Auril. And my thing is, I have very clear factions in place. Auril is a faction. She is, basically a faction of one, but she does have her minions, and her minions are specifically her followers, any of her acolytes, making Ravison a Auralite for sure. And then, Cold Light Walkers and those kind of things. So all the talking animals who are minions of Ravison are ultimately minions of Auril, for example. Then we've got the Dwerger as a faction who are operating, they're basically just opportunists. And they are just taking advantage of this dark situation and moving in to destroy 10 towns. Now, once they start getting going, Auril may very well intervene in that, depending on how I feel and how the players are doing, because she wouldn't want these Dwerger coming and destroy 10 towns. If there's one thing deities need, it's worshippers. And if Dwerger come in and just fucking wipe out 10 towns, then she is out of worshippers. So Auril definitely does not want the Dwerger to do that. But her focus right now is spent on trying to find Neslantimir. Then we've got this faction, which is the Knights of the Black Sword. So we're losing the demon stuff completely, and instead this is just a group of folks who are based around Chardolin and researching Chardolin and using Chardolin's powers. And it'll be Avarice who probably determines that, hey, this stuff came from like some ancient thing. We want to find that. I think that's what, Neslantimir and Valish Gaunt were doing here. And look, it actually has some kind of really powerful effect against Aural's minions and creatures, so maybe they can use that in some way. So all of these are separate factions that players can, that are all operating kind of independently of each other. So I didn't really need the demon stuff at all, because this is already going to be a lot for me to handle. The level of the players, currently, they are going to be turning level 4 at the beginning of this session. They're going to be newly level 4. Crazy thought, mate. Maybe you have an actual intelligent goat. You had some thoughts? I've got a co-streamer here. Crazy thought maybe an actual intelligent goat assist with some information. Perhaps the goat is not merely a true goat. I saw this map and there's fucking goats in this keep again. How many of these missions have goats in them? And because of Thimbleweed, I have to assume all these goats are going to be spoken to, which means I have to come up with dialogue for all these goddamn goats. So, assuming they find them, there's a chance that they might not, explore every single room or whatever. And I'm torn between, because I like role-playing the animals as like, well, yeah, you can speak to them, but they don't, they're not intelligent, they don't know a lot of information, but I do want to make it, hey, that's enough. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get you some food. So I have to come up with some dialogue and, generally get some goat sessions going, because they're gonna talk to these goats. Let me deal with this bait for a second, be right back. Alright, sorry about that. delegate duties to the older kid, and I'll be very sad when school starts in 2 more weeks and I can't do that. So, what do we do with this keep? We whispered to Valrobin that he can say a phrase that's going to let them inside. Because he is talking to Avarice, which none of the other players know about. This is his player secret. So this will be a really cool moment for Valrobin. I want to play it very carefully where I don't want to necessarily expose his secret. I want to leave that up to the players on how they want to expose it. So I'm be interested to see how he flavors this. If he's very obvious about it, or if he tries to play it real cool. So they'll be allowed inside. So there probably won't be any Fort Belwarian shenanigans in terms of trying to get inside the keep. And then from there, you know, they have to realize that Avarice is not the leader of the cult. It's actually Kadroth, which is this paunchy tiefling fellow, who is definitely a, you know, political leader. But I have to make him I think I have to kind of upscale him a bit, because I'm establishing the fact that because it's all about Charlotte turned someone into a goat, because that's their whole thing, is they can work with Chardalyn. So I'm gonna have to make him more of a wizard rather than just a cult fanatic, maybe a low-level wizard, and or an artificer, because he can, you know, maybe with his friends or whatever, with this group, can help people by turning the raw Chardalyn into something that's less bad for people, I guess. I'm trying to establish the fact that maybe if you just expose yourself to raw Chardalyn, you get more madness, whereas if you have it molded and maybe contained into something, and you know, you kind of focus that magic into something else, like into a magic item, then it's still kind of a cursed item, but it's maybe not quite as debilitating. But I'll need to play that up by saying that Edmund starts feeling, maybe I'll have him roll for indefinite madness. Not literally indefinite, have it maybe last a certain amount of time, but to reflect the fact that having raw Chardalyn is very bad and very dangerous, versus having it be molded into something. But that could be a fun thing, is I could have them maybe make some items out of it, but at the same time, Edmund's got the hunted trait, and I was going to have him be hunted by the Arcane Brotherhood, which would be maybe Avarice, and maybe the Knights of the Black Sword would actually be hunting him, because he is he knows how to handle Chardalyn and knows a lot of information about it, and they find that to be kind of maybe not necessarily proprietary information, but they want to have, you know, anybody who's knowledgeable about it should join this group, or basically be put down. Like, they definitely want to keep that a special secret that only they know. So that would be an interesting twist, is that Valrobin wants to work with these guys, and Edmund may very well be arrested by them, or possibly, you know, maybe even attacked. I don't want to force a combat encounter. I definitely want to make the players be able to get out of it as much as possible. But I will bring that option to them as well. And in terms of actually messing with this map, which I have not done at all. So already we've got... Oh, and I also don't like the fact that the person they literally come to, like, rescue is literally on the top of the gate as, like, the initial guard. That's dumb. Like, at least make them work for it and, like, search for this dude. Are the spells limited to targeted spells and not AoE? I didn't specify that, but I could change that. And you're talking about the Chardalyn Amulet. What did I say? Any spell at 1st to 3rd level is cast within 30 feet of the wearer. It does have to be within 30 feet, which is generally pretty close. But, yeah, it could be any spell. Any AoE, whatever, it doesn't matter the spell. As long as it's a spell at 1st to 3rd level, and the amulet is empty, and then there's a 25% chance that it will capture that spell. Maybe I could add a thing where if you don't spend the spell within the next, I don't know, if you don't spend it within that day, something bad happens. I feel like I've got enough mechanics here already that it's getting kind of fiddly, though. I don't want to make it too much. But no, I didn't have that kind of change on there. But yeah, I'm going to move Huarwer, which is the fucking worst dumbass name. I can always just tell Mom that Junior is happy and healthy, all good. Agreed. Yeah, that's that's basically the quest. I mean, we can make this an actual quest and just say, you know, meet with. What's the easiest? Is it easy to duplicate this? You know, just meet with this group of people, and then the quest can be completed, you know, just by meeting with them, essentially. So the weird thing is, I don't know how long, if this is going to be like 3 sessions or 1 session, because I literally don't know if the players are going to treat this as like, oh, we do have to like take this cult out and, you know, sneak around and do all that, or if they just want to talk to these folks and be like, yeah, okay, this is good. We'll keep it on the down low, and Avarice keeps on, you know, Valravn keeps spying with her and all that, then we're good to go. Both of those things are acceptable. Not put it in there yet. So the source of this quest is, let's see, destination is Caer Dineval. The weird thing is they're probably not even gonna get this quest until they're like halfway through here. I guess I could turn. I don't want to make the Rescuing Horror the quest. Oof, I don't know. Question marks. Meet with the I'll say cult. The group? Question mark? Meet with the I don't know. Discover what's going on in the Caer Dineval? I guess technically the innkeeper of Caer Dineval could kind of say, hey, you know, check out this group that's moved in here. We haven't seen our speaker in like a month. Clearly. Oh, that could be a quest too, is find out what happened to the speaker in Caer Dineval. I mean, what's going on? That's kind of generic, but that's kind of the idea. And, you know, the quest can literally be completed by saying, yeah, the speaker's there, he's under house arrest. That's not great, but I do have to worry, you know, Valravn does have, he's a Bard College of Eloquence, so he can talk his way out of anything. And it's not having a Jedi mind trick, but he is very persuasive. So it'll be very interesting if the players play their cards right, and it's just a chance for him to do a bunch of role playing. Then maybe they're like, hey, you know, keep doing what you're doing, but maybe we need to let the speaker out. Although the speaker would be very vindictive. He would absolutely like return to town, rally, you know, marshal forces and go march on. Like that's what he wants to do. So I'm really trying to create all these very interesting, complex social situations, which is also terrifyingly tricky as a DM. Yeah, totally go either hard or ditch it. I agree, Jason. And I'm ditching it, but I respect people that are going hard with it and turn this into a whole like demon thing. And I like the idea of like Levistus being like an Ethrin and all that kind of cool stuff. Those are cool ideas. The goats need to be their own faction. The goat faction. Yes, baby. Waiting for Edmund to craft a lead-lined box. That's a good idea. Maybe the spell gets rid of temporary hit points, possibly. Thank you, baby. Let's see, part of your party wanted to chat everyone, and the other part saying, kill all the evil people. Yes, I agree. How do you plan for them to be Avarice? She's in the basement with the most of the dead and captured servants. Well, she's not going to be in the basement. That's fucking dumb. I don't know why she's in the basement. Anyway, Avarice would be, I'm going to move her, let's see. Yeah, why is she in the fucking basement? Find a Levistus, obviously that'll get changed. 21, Avarice's quarters. Avarice's quarters are in the fucking basement next to this like frozen waterway. That's terrible. Get out, yeah. So obviously, as written, Avarice is a super weird part of this area where the players are most likely not even meant to meet her. Whereas in my campaign, all the Arcane Brotherhood members are very important part. I mean, we hopefully you all saw the mountain climb quest and notice what I did with Dazan there. All the Arcane Brotherhood members are going to be extremely important parts of my quest, and that's the trade-off to losing a lot of the extra fat, which is all the Levistus stuff, the Asmodeus. Is I am really focusing hard on making the Arcane Brotherhood very critical, important members. So they'll be meeting with Avarice, who is basically as important as Kadroth. Kadroth is currently the leader, but it'll be a thing where like Avarice will basically be taking over. And maybe that will be the quest that she will give Valravn and meet with the players secretly and say, hey, I can help mold this group into fighting back against Oral and creating weapons that are good against what is it? Game of Thrones. It's the fucking Game of Thrones thing. What's it called? The thing that does good against the White Walkers. That's totally what I'm stealing. Forgot the name of it. Dragon Glass? Is that it? Dragon Glass? That would be the whole thing, is like, and Avarice knows, but Kadroth is more about, no, we just need to hoard it and keep it to ourselves, and she's like, these people can help us and all that. So in other words, I really want to make the players work with Avarice on this a lot, and Valravn obviously would be partial to her. And then it would be a fun twist at the end to have her show up, at the end in Ithrin and be like, all right, you helped lead me here, and now I'm going to take my rightful place as, taking over this whole area, and she brings all of her knights, and they're all armed up and stuff. That'd be badass. And maybe the quest is like, take out Kadroth and his... So I turn this into a Fane of the Night Serpent situation, where she is Fenthaza, and Kadroth is Rosnisi. That's an interesting idea. And instead I say, hey, can you go take out Kadroth for me so I can actually take over? Ooh, I could do that. I like that a lot. Maybe they have a chance to meet with both of them, and then when she does it, she either tells the party outright or pulls Valravn aside and said, hey, I need you to do something for me. You've proven yourself very helpful. Now, if you could take out the Kadroth, make it look like... Unfortunately, I don't have any rogues or assassins in this group, but, make it look like, obviously, it wasn't necessarily a political hit. Or maybe it is, and who cares, and she can just assume control. Or maybe blame it on, outside forces. And then, like, you see, this is why we need to militarize. That could be interesting. But yes, I need to move... I don't know why. Yeah, Krenok has... I need to fix a lot of these tokens. This is the token for the speaker, Krenok Seaver. It's literally like a female commoner. Fantastic, Roll20. So obviously I'll be putting Avarice in one of these rooms, which this map sucks. It's just a bunch of just blank rooms. What is this? Oh, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'm getting rid of the Soothsayer. I am removing... what's her name? The weird old dwarf lady, Hethel Arkaran, who like tells the party the major plot of the Dwargar and stuff. Like that's, I don't need that at all. So we'll remove that room completely, which is C13, and then we can put Avarice's room in there. That's an easy change for me. Which the other reason I'm nervous about this one though is because I am making a lot of changes from the book. A lot of narrative changes. And to decorate this room a little bit too. I just haven't done any friggin' work that I need to be doing for our session. It's so nerve-wracking. The speaker's bedroom is in C14, which he's under house arrest. I'll be replacing a lot of these cultists. I'll probably use some cultist stat blocks, but I'll be upgrading some to Cult Fanatic. There we go, these guys use the right one. But in others, I'll probably use like guards, or maybe have like a berserker somewhere. Just, play it up that they all have different, kind of like X-Men, where they all have different Chardalyn stuff, and that's what they draw their power from. Could be cool. When my players walked up to the castle, the guards told them to go away. The pieces in the guard distant. The players left and never investigated. Oh man! So that's what kind of happened in our Tomb of Annihilation campaign with Fort Belwarian. Except the players wanted to go in. They had an NPC with them who were kind of wanting them to get inside, and so the players ended up almost the same thing happened where they had turned around and got kicked out of the entrance because they were being dicks, and then they went on this entire big like distraction event, which was really fun. I encourage everybody to watch that, at least that part of the session. To where they made it inside and had to do all this duplicitous stuff, and it was almost turned into like a heist. It basically was a heist at that point, which was a lot of fun. I'm kind of taking that away from them here because Valravn can just speak this key phrase that will let them inside, because that is he is tied to Avarice with his backstory, so that will be an important part of their story. Which means she could give them the quest like, hey, take out Kadroth. So she's on the second level, isn't she? Whereas Kadroth's on the first level, so maybe Kadroth will meet with them first, and then Avarice will like send her Raven down to meet me on the second level. And then meanwhile, the players could explore around. They certainly could. They've got, I'll probably give them an escort with maybe some, knights or something to escort them around. We don't have any. I don't think we have anybody who's actually good at stealth necessarily. So kind of like a lot of other stuff. We had like in Prince of Apocalypse where Kethra stealthed around the spire at one point. I don't think we have opportunities for that with this party. We don't have any rogues. And I think the stealthiest person is Thimbleweed as a ranger with +6. And in terms of spells, I don't think we have any like invisibility or any kind of reconnaissance spells. So I don't know how effective the players will be. What they do have is somebody who can talk their way out of anything with Valravn. So by using his persuasion, he might be able to just, convince a lot of people to let him into places or let the party member into places, which I would probably allow because ultimately just makes the story more interesting and makes everything more fun. What spells do you have, Valravn? Good to check the character sheets now and then. Although, as a reminder, we will be leveling up to 4. And a couple of these folks get new spells. And I know Chris just told me he was taking some spell that was going to give me a headache. And I forgot what the spell was. I think he was going to take... It wasn't command. It was maybe suggestion. No, he's already got suggestion. Or maybe he already put that in there. Did he already level up to 4? But yeah, he was basically gonna put a bunch of like mindfuckery powers in there, just so to make it so he does have Jedi mind tricks. Which, hey, more power to him. That's a fun idea for a character. We had a player sleep with the soothsayer. What? That was a weird part of our session. No shit. Yikes. That's a red flag in my campaign. Wake up the next morning, we're dead in the bed with a huge smile on our face. Wow. All right. Made the care, the home base or starting point for the Arcane Brotherhood, and exactly what you described. We just did that in our last session. Cool. Dragonglass, yeah. There's dead people in the water and in the basement. So I will make the... I'm going to keep the prison part of the basement, and so that his... all these people have names. The speaker's servants have been imprisoned, and that's kind of what they're using to make the speaker, like, still, put his stamp on proclamations and stuff. So the speaker's under house arrest. He's got the servants are being captured and held. So this is not a benevolent group necessarily, but they're also not an evil devil-worshipping cult. So I am trying to make it like shades of gray there. But that will be the big thing, is if the players actually go down here, that's when they'll be able to see, maybe I'll put some Charlatan Berserkers in chains and stuff. Maybe one that's like half been experimented on, because maybe somebody's trying to like figure out like, okay, how can we reverse this process once it gets too bad? That could be interesting. So that'll be the kind of things they'll find in the basement if they go down in the basement. Again, totally up to them if they actually want to explore this place or not. And I don't think any amount of persuasion would allow anybody to explore the basement. They would have to come up with some kind of, shenanigans about distractions and all that kind of stuff, which they could effectively do that. I would absolutely listen in on them doing that. You could use cultist priests from princes. I went back and looked at that, and that was one reason I really loved that campaign, is they did such a good job giving unique humanoid enemies. Like, it wasn't just using the cultist stat block over and over again. It was, they were crushing wave priests, or they were black earth guards, or they were eternal flame warriors, or whatever. Like, and they gave them like little abilities here and there. It was really cool. So yeah, I may look at that as inspiration for how to make more flavored, humanoid shock troopers, basically. Although in this, I'm torn between doing that and also making it more of an X-Men situation where like each one of these has kind of different things. Although that gets tedious in terms of literally making every unique person have a different Charlatan thing. It might just be like, hey, you can make this set of armor, which would be this stat block, or maybe they're wielding, Charlatan axes, which give them this stat block. And so on and so forth. So I will probably, that's a good idea. I will definitely be stealing some of those. I don't know if I'll be using literally like the same ones from some of these, but maybe I could at least use one or two of them, and maybe even get away with using the same token, because we haven't seen that for a couple of years. But yeah, I do like how that they did a cool thing there. Whereas the only thing they did here, they literally give you a Knight of the Black Sword stat block, and it's just a cult fanatic with that stupid Icy Doom frozen thing, where if they if they die, their body just freezes up. It doesn't really have any mechanical thing. It just means you can't like raise them or something. Which I'm not even going to use because again, these are not oral or these are not Levistus powers that they're getting. These are just from the Shardolent they're getting, so they won't have that. They'll just have other kind of unique stat blocks and stuff. Sent into Avernus has some awesome cultist types. I haven't looked at that. I mean, I reviewed it, but that was a while ago. So I need to look at that. Thank you. Maybe we can become a bug, right? That's sneaky. Does he do that from Swarm? Or are you talking about his secret or his Swarmkeeperness? I don't think he can transform into stuff. I don't know if they can even, and if he can use his bugs as reconnaissance either. I need to look back up what Swarmkeeper can do. Have it on here. Gathered Swarm. Cause a swarm to assist you in one of the following. I think it's just combat stuff. You can move them. You can move yourself. You can move other people, or you can just have them do extra damage. I don't think you can actually use them as reconnaissance. But he can talk to those damn goats, and you know he's going to be talking to those damn goats. That's just an... Oh, yeah, you're right. He did try it on the Dwerger. You're right. Those Dwerger and their spell resistance advantage. But he was a druid. He is a ranger. Yeah, I haven't seen any multi-classing yet. I don't know if we'll see any, but that'll be interesting. I haven't heard what the players are doing at level 4. Level 4 is not a huge, exciting level. Like everybody's getting, you know, we might see some feats or otherwise just ability score improvement. So it's just kind of a stepping stone until, I mean, 3rd was a big one because we get a lot of the class archetype subclasses. And then 5th is obviously a huge one because you get the big proficiency bonus increase and, you know, 3rd level spells come online. A lot of big stuff happens. 4th, just kind of a stepping stone to get higher. So yeah, I'm very nervous about running this whole thing because it has, I just don't know what's coming. I just don't know how the player's going to react to it. I'm going to write scenes for when they come in. We're going to assume Valrobin does his phrase to be able to be allowed in. He'll be escorted inside, or Kadroth will like ask him, you know, how do you know our phrase and how do you know us? And then I'll maybe leave Valrobin a little chance to squirm about like, oh, I thought I was meeting with Avarice basically. And then if they really fail at all this stuff, I'll have like her familiar come and like, you know, summon them to her room. Otherwise he can have his speech, talk to them. He will, maybe I have to work out if I want to try to arrest Edmund or otherwise confiscate him and basically have the cult figure out that he's got all this Shardolent on him without using DM magic of like, oh, it's, you know, I know you've got Shardolent on you. Maybe Edmund will say something and then that'll make it more dangerous for him. So I want to make this an interest. It's going to be really tied into my story, basically. It's going to be heavily tied into the story, which is always nerve-wracking because this is just a, you know, it's one thing to do just a random dungeon with monsters, another thing to do a huge fortress with multiple NPCs with a lot of interesting story stuff that could go in multiple directions, which is what I'm trying to cultivate here. Swarmkeeper Ranger multiclassed into Druid. That's cool. Meld into their swarm. That's a cool idea. Warden Cannon's Tomb of Foes has good options for boons granted to cultists. I will check that out. Rules for cult specials. I'll definitely check both those out then. I didn't realize that. Thank you. I'm actually going to write a note about that. And the other one was Descent into Avernus. Warden Cannon's cultists. I will check both those out and see if I can make some basically just more interesting. And you know, the other weird thing is chapter 1 is just tier 1, right? It's just scaled for like 1 through 4. Well, and I mentioned this before, there's a big difference between a level 1 party and a level 4 party. So part of what I have to do with all these quests is modify the level range, and usually by upscaling stuff, which is what I did in the Dwerger Outpost. I very much upscaled that. And here at level 4, and again, it's not meant to be a combat dungeon necessarily, but a bunch of cultists, like, you know, if I don't change anything as is, the players can just fucking blow this whole place to the ground and put the torch to it. Like, it's just these bunch of 9 hit point, just shitty cultists. There's like maybe 2 or 3 cult fanatics, and Avarice is just supposed to leave anyway. She didn't have her gargoyles with her. So I think I want to upscale to make it just a little bit more interesting from a potential combat standpoint. And then same thing when we do like the Mead Must Flow, which was a quest that, if you recall, my players could have done right off the beginning at level 2. We're not going to get there till potentially after this quest, depending if they want to go to East Haven next or good mead, which is up to them. I may look at upscaling that one. I have to look at that one again and see what the danger level is, but that's, partly on me for just having to modify these things around, because this isn't a case of like, here's level 2 dungeon, here's level 3 quest, here's level 4 quest. It's all, can be very much different. Bye, Michael. Yeah, cluster F, and I love it. I agree. Yeah, that's why I'm so nervous. There's so many different plot levels to go. There's so many different ways for the players to take this, and all the different things I'm going to be throwing at them. And as I mentioned, this could be like a one-and-done session where we have a bunch of social encounters, and then we leave, and then that's it. And I'm like, all right, I'll plan the next area. That's fine. Or it can be a very much like, we're going to investigate this place. We're going to get in trouble. Somebody's going to get arrested. Arrested with the cult. We're going to discover, like, the berserkers chained up in the basement, like all this stuff. And maybe they want to end up fighting some or whatever else. But I think what I'd like to do, if everything goes according to my plan, it's mostly social encounters, and then Avarice will tell Valravn, and then hopefully by convincing him, like, hey, help me establish control of this cult, take out Kadroth, and I will work, and we can be allied together in this fight against this permanent winter, and I will help militarize this cult and use Chardalyn. Keep bringing me any Chardalyn that you've got. You can turn it into magic weapons, and we know these things are effective against Aurel's minions. And that could be a really interesting subplot for the players to explore, for sure. But that's, one of many potential things that could end up happening. That's interesting, Jordan. You could have a bunch of druids and Aurel servants attack the keep, similar to Fort Belwar, and have Avarice kill Kadroth during the assaults. I don't think I actually did that in Fort Belwarian. I think I did that in Camp Vengeance. Fort Belwarian, I didn't have anything attack it. I'm not really prepared to do that, I don't think. Because Aurel is searching for wizards. Yeah, I don't know. That could be interesting. It would definitely spice things up. I did do that effectively in Tomb Annihilation with the Camp Vengeance, so that was a fun moment where it was like a social scene that I then interrupted with this huge siege that besieged that camp and allowed the players have to fight it off and do all that, and ended up being a big, cool combat encounter. I don't know. I'm not feeling it for this one. The players are a little bit lower level, and we just came off some big fights in the Door Outpost. And I kind of want to keep things just dealing with this cult. And then I think in Act 2, we're probably going to escalate what Aurel's been doing. Right now, she's just searching. She's gathering information. She's trying to establish, more of a zealous presence in some of the towns. And that's what they'll discover in East Haven when they'll discover Ravison is like the Jafar of East Haven, and they're burning Dazan. So hasn't really escalated the threat yet in terms of she's sending her minions to siege an entire castle yet, but it's an interesting it would be an interesting plot point for sure. I think that's all the time we have. I did start a little bit later, but I think we've been going for about an hour for crafting Icewind Ale for now. I have a lot of work that still needs to be done before tomorrow night, just swapping this map around, hopefully making it a little bit more attractive, and writing all that dialogue, the social scenes, and coming up with some unique stat blocks. So I meant to have more of that done by now, but life comes at you quick, doesn't it? So thank you all for joining me for this week's Crafting Icewind Dale. If you enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Ty Dancer, Wizard, Princess, Christopher, Thomas, Captain Mike, Adam, Aiden, Stan, Nathan, Alex, Chad, Alexander, and Dan. And gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Dead Lizard, Lounge, Sam, Arash, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Scalenia, Nick, Party McButterpants, Blood Angel, Baroness, Baboon, Nathan, and Fast Like a Tortoise. I will see you all tomorrow night for D&D.